Carl Jung noticed something almost cruel about those who have been abandoned. The moment a person is left, they swear they would do anything to have the other person back. But Jung observed, case after case, that these people rarely wanted the real person back. They wanted the pain to stop. They wanted to rebuild the fantasy that had collapsed. And that's why almost everything they do to win someone back has the opposite effect. It pushes them even further away. Because there's a psychological law that nobody tells you. The more you chase after someone who left you, the more you confirm exactly why they left you. Every pleading message, every "let's talk," every casual appearance that's anything but casual, all of it screams a single underlying phrase. Without you, I am nothing. And nobody, listen carefully, nobody ever wants to go back to a person who knelt at their feet. Desperation is the perfume that repels exactly the person you want to attract. But stay until the end of this video, because what Jung discovered about this goes against everything you've been taught about winning someone back. Forget the tricks, the pre-written messages, the jealousy games. There's only one move, just one, that truly makes someone miss you to the point of regretting it. And the most disturbing thing is that this move has almost nothing to do with the other person. It has to do with a wound within you that existed long before the relationship began. When you understand this, you'll never chase anyone again in your life. And it's precisely this type of person, the one who doesn't chase, that the whole world chases. So don't skip anything, because each part will bring you closer to the turning point that comes at the end. Jung dedicated decades to studying a pattern that repeated itself with frightening precision in people suffering from heartbreak. And the first thing he understood is that the person who pursues an ex believes they are proving how much they love them. But what they are really communicating is how much they have lost themselves. Attraction, at its core, has never been about what you say. It's about the energy you unconsciously emit, what Jung called libido, the vital force that moves through you. And when this energy is begging, clinging, pursuing, the other person's unconscious reads it instantly, not as love, as neediness. And neediness, however well disguised, suffocates. Think about the pattern, because it repeats itself with almost everyone. The person is left behind, the ground disappears, and the race begins. The long messages explaining everything again. The attempts to talk calmly, the proofs that they've changed, the apologies disguised as affection, and each gesture carrying the same silent phrase. Please come back, because without you, I don't know who I am. Jung understood that it was exactly this phrase, even unspoken, that the other person felt, and that it pushed them further and further away. Because nobody wants to carry the entire identity of another person on their shoulders. And here, Jung observed something that almost no one notices. At the exact moment someone is left, a fork in the road opens up before that person, which will decide the next few years of their life. The first road is the road of panic. It's the road of those who cling, beg, negotiate, promise to change, scour the other person's profile in the middle of the night, rehearse conversations they'll never have the courage to have. It's the busiest road, because it's the one that wounded instinct screams for you to follow. And it's also the one that invariably ends in the same place, in humiliation, and in the confirmation, for the other person, that leaving was the right decision. The second path is almost invisible, because it offers no immediate relief. It's the path of those who choose to use pain as fuel, not as an excuse. Jung said that rupture, however brutal, is one of the most powerful transformative forces that exist, because it does something that almost nothing in life can. It destroys the fantasy in which you were comfortably asleep and throws you, without anesthesia, face to face with yourself. Most people hate this encounter and run from it, filling the silence with another person, with alcohol, with work. But the few who manage to stay in this encounter discover there the raw material for a transformation that no comfortable relationship could ever have provoked. The pain that seems to be destroying you is, in fact, the old version of you dying so that a new one can be born. But to understand why the pursuit fails so completely, you need to swallow a law of the unconscious that Jung pointed out, and that almost no one accepts because it's too harsh. At the deepest level of the psyche, attraction is tied to respect, and respect is tied to the perception of value. When you beg and humiliate yourself for someone, you send a devastating, unconscious message. My energy is cheap. I give myself away for free. I have no value to demand anything in return. And the other person's unconscious receives this message loud and clear. No matter how much the person likes you, something in them registers. There's nothing to gain here. Because it's cruel, but it works that way for everyone. We devalue what is given effortlessly, and value what is firm, what has limits, what has dignity. Jung wasn't talking about playing games or feigning coldness. He was talking about a structural truth of the human soul. When you give up all your dignity to try to keep someone, you don't become more lovable, you become more disposable, because you communicate with every gesture that you would abandon yourself entirely just to avoid being abandoned by the other person. And nobody respects, deep down, someone who doesn't respect themselves first. And here, Jung went even deeper, to the point where it really hurts. He realized that, in most cases, the person wasn't left simply because the other had changed or was immature. They were left because, at some point, they had disappeared. Afraid of losing their partner, they gradually extinguished their own light to please them. They abandoned their opinions to avoid conflict. They abandoned their friends to have more time together. They shelved their own dreams to support the others. They became a satellite orbiting a planet. Jung called this dissolution into the other, and the problem is simple and brutal. Nobody wants their own doormat, no matter how useful it may be. The person who negates themselves believes deep down that they are being loved because they are so dedicated, so present, so available. Jung would say that they are merely being tolerated because they are so convenient. And comfort is not attraction. There is a chasm between being needed and being desired. You can be extremely useful to someone and, at the same time, completely uninteresting in that person's eyes. And it's impossible to miss someone who has never left, who is always there, always waiting. Absence is what creates desire. And those who negate themselves never give the other person the chance to feel their absence. There's a Jungian concept that explains why initial passion always seems so magical and then cools down. At the beginning, both project onto each other the image of the perfect partner, what he called anima and animus, the internal and idealized image of the feminine and masculine that we all carry. That's why initial passion seems like destiny, a perfect fit, a soulmate. But no projection lasts forever. Eventually, the other person's reality emerges beneath the fantasy. And then, only the relationship where there are two real and interesting people beneath the projection survives. Where one of the two has been negated, when the projection falls, there's nothing left to sustain it. The magic evaporates and reveals the emptiness. And here, Jung would give you an uncomfortable exercise. Take that person you're idolizing in their absence, the one who, in your memory, has become perfect, irreplaceable, the love of your life. And remember, honestly, the signs. The times they disrespected you and you swallowed it. The times your intuition bothered you and you made excuses. The small cruelties disguised as jokes. The times you felt alone even when you were by their side. Because the painful truth is that the person you're crying over probably never existed in the way you painted them. You're not suffering from the loss of who they were. You're suffering from the loss of who you needed them to be. As long as you keep the other person on a pedestal of perfection, you'll continue to believe you'll never find something as good again. And that belief is a lie your projection is telling you. Jung wasn't saying this so you would hate the other person. He was saying it so you would see clearly. Because maybe you haven't lost a treasure. Maybe you've been spared from continuing to negate yourself for someone who never truly valued you. And there's a specific type of person that Jung studied closely, and perhaps you recognize yourself in them. The one who falls in love with potential. The one who looks at someone problematic, unstable, emotionally unavailable, and thinks, I can help, I can heal. With my love, this person will change. Jung would call this a savior complex, and it's one of the cruelest traps of love because it disguises itself as generosity, as nobility. But underneath almost always lies a wound, because those who need to save others are usually, without realizing it, trying to save themselves through the other. The other becomes a project, a test. The person thinks, if I can make someone difficult love me, then I finally prove that I have value. And when that relationship ends, you don't just lose the person. You lose the mission. You lose the chance to prove your worth. And the pain becomes twofold. But then why does someone humiliate themselves so much to bring back the very person who witnessed their disappearance? Here is the key that Jung spent his life trying to teach. The desperate urgency to win someone back is almost never about that specific person. It's about an old wound that person, unknowingly, was helping to heal. When someone enters your life and silences that old emptiness for a while, that old feeling of not being enough, of being disposable at any moment, your nervous system clings on with disproportionate force. Not because that person is irreplaceable, but because they have become your remedy. And when they leave, it's not just them who disappears. It's the anesthesia that disappears. The wound starts hurting again with a vengeance. And what you call longing is, in large part, that exposed wound, screaming for help. Jung gave this a name, the complex. A charged emotional knot, almost always formed in childhood, that lies dormant for years until someone presses exactly the right button. And Jung was one of the first to understand how much we repeat in adulthood the patterns we experienced as children. If you grew up chasing after the love of an absent father, it's very likely that you will fall in love, again and again, with absent people, and spend your life chasing after them. Not because you're stupid, but because your unconscious is desperately trying to rewrite the ending of that old story. To conquer, now, the love you couldn't get back then. And that's why certain losses hurt much more than they should. When that specific person abandons you, they're not just leaving you. They're reopening the original wound. They're confirming, for your nervous system, that oldest fear of all, that you're not enough to be chosen, to be loved completely. That's why the despair is so great. You're not just fighting for that relationship. You're fighting, without realizing it, against a sentence that was written in your childhood. And when the relationship ends, it's not the rational and capable adult who begs. It's the wounded child inside, panicked, convinced that they will die if that person doesn't come back. It's not weakness of character. It's a complex in control. And there's another layer that Jung described, and that science confirmed decades later. When an intense relationship ends, what you feel isn't just sadness, it's withdrawal. Literally. The brain of someone in love and then abandoned behaves very similarly to that of a drug addict deprived of their drug. The same brain regions, the same craving, the same obsession. And this explains why rational people do completely irrational things after a breakup. They aren't weak, they're in withdrawal. And here's the liberating part. All withdrawal passes. Always. As long as you don't feed the addiction. And what feeds the addiction? Looking at the other person's profile, rereading conversations, maintaining a friend's contact that only serves to get a fix, running into each other by chance. Each of these things is like a sip for someone trying to quit drinking. It resets the clock. It keeps the wound open. If you recognize yourself in this pattern of chasing, of self-annihilation, of becoming desperate when someone walks away, of becoming a hostage to another person, write the word awakened in the comments. Jung said that the simple act of recognizing an unconscious pattern already begins to take away the power it has over you. Because what is made conscious stops controlling you from the shadows. And that's precisely what most people never do. They spend their whole lives reacting to wounds they never stop to look at. And this is where almost everyone makes the fatal mistake when trying to win someone back. They hear they need to distance themselves, take a break, apply the famous no-contact rule. And they even do it. But they do it as a tactic, a bait. They remain silent on the outside, while inside they check their phone every 5 minutes waiting for a notification. They disappear, but post a photo to ensure the other person sees they're okay. They feign indifference while praying, every second, that this feigned indifference will work and bring the person running back. And Jung would understand this immediately. It doesn't fool anyone. Because energy doesn't lie. You can be 1,000 kilometers away without sending a single message for weeks and still exude desperation from every pore. That silence, laden with expectation, has a smell. It's the smell of someone who hasn't really left, only hid behind a strategy and is peeking through the crack, waiting. True non-contact, then, is not a seduction tactic. It's a detoxification treatment. It's about cutting off the source of the drug so that your nervous system can finally return to normal. That's why it works from the inside out and never from the outside in. It's not about making the other person miss you. It's about making you stop needing them to the point of not being able to breathe. And this is where another subtle trap that Jung would point out lies. The obsession with what people call closure, having that last conversation to understand what happened. The person says they don't want the other person back, that they just want to understand, just want to close the door with dignity. But seeking closure in the other person is still a form of persecution. It's still giving the other person the power to give you peace. The hard truth is that the closure you seek almost never comes from a conversation. The person who hurt you rarely has the maturity to give you the complete and satisfactory explanation you imagine. You will leave that conversation more confused and more hurt than when you entered. The only real closure is internal. It's the day you stop needing to understand why the other person did what they did, and accept that some people leave simply because they weren't who you imagined them to be. Closure isn't a conversation you have with the other person. It's a decision you make alone, within yourself. And the unconscious is cunning. It invents noble motives to do what desperation wants. Jung called this rationalization. The mind, creating an elegant justification for an impulse that, at its core, is pure neediness. So, when you find yourself wanting to just talk one last time to close the cycle, ask yourself with brutal honesty, do I really want to close this door? Or do I want an excuse to keep it open? The same goes for one of the most common tactics, provoking jealousy, posting photos with someone else, leaving clues that you're dating, pretending you have a line of suitors. Jung would explain why this almost always backfires. Because artificially provoked jealousy comes from a place of neediness, and that neediness seeps through the charade. The other person might feel a momentary pang, but deep down they realize it's all a staged performance. And a staged performance to impress someone is, in itself, a form of stalking. You're saying, again, look at me, please, notice me. The jealousy that truly makes someone reconsider isn't the kind you provoke. It's the kind that arises spontaneously, when the person realizes you don't actually need them anymore. That other people naturally approach you because you've started shining again. That jealousy is real because the situation is real. You didn't stage anything. You've simply become, once again, someone worthwhile. And this is where we arrive at the only move that truly works, the one I promised at the beginning. The transformative distancing isn't a trick to bring the other person back. It's the genuine withdrawal of your projections. During the relationship, you placed your happiness, your worth, your sense of identity, your peace in that person. You outsourced your entire soul. And reclaiming yourself literally means pulling all of that back inside yourself. Stopping seeing that person as the source of your peace and returning to being your own source. This isn't a 1 or 2 week performance. It's the deepest work there is, what Jung called individuation. The process of becoming who you truly are, instead of who you shrunk yourself to be, to fit into someone else's life. In practice, individuation after a breakup has very concrete and uncomfortable steps. The first is to stop running away from the pain. Sit with it. Feel the emptiness without rushing to fill it. Jung said that what you don't consciously face returns as destiny. If you don't sit with this pain now, it will return with another face in the next relationship, and the next, until you finally face it. The second step is to recover the pieces of yourself that were left behind. The things that cheered you up, the places, the people, the dreams that were abandoned throughout the relationship in the name of us. Individuation is about going to find these parts one by one and bringing them home. And the third step, the most difficult, is to integrate your own shadow. To recognize that you also had your part in the story, that you negated yourself, that you ignored signs. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about taking ownership of your power. Because if the blame were only on the other person, you would be a passive victim, without any control. But the moment you acknowledge your part, you regain control. Because what depends on you, you can change. And look what Jung observed happens when someone truly does this work. Not just paying lip service. The person stops checking their phone, not because they are trying to control themselves, but because they have genuinely stopped expecting it. They start sleeping through the night again. They start truly laughing with friends they had abandoned. They rediscover projects, hobbies, and ambitions they had shelved. And their eyes change. There's something in the gaze of someone who has rebuilt their own center that is impossible to fake. And it is from this process that the only thing the other person cannot ignore is born. Real indifference. Not the acted and resentful indifference of someone who is hurt and wants the other person to notice, but the tranquil serenity of someone who has genuinely moved on. Because human beings are drawn to those who are whole. It always has been and always will be. When you stop orbiting someone and regain your own center of gravity, you become a mystery again. And here, Jung described a scene he found fascinating. When the rebuilt person eventually crosses paths with their ex again, whether by chance or through a message the other sends when feeling empty, something unexpected happens. The ex expects to find the person they left behind. Needy, available, easy to manipulate. And they find a stranger. Someone with the same features, the same voice, but with a completely different energy. Someone who listens calmly, who doesn't beg, who clearly has their own full life. And it is at that moment that true regret is born. Not because you made a scene, not because you proved anything, but because the contrast between the image the other person had of you and the real person standing before them is shocking. The other person realizes, in a flash, that perhaps they threw away something rare, that perhaps the problem was never you, but their immaturity, their inability to value what they had. But Jung would point out the hidden poison in this path, and that's where most people slip up. Many people understand this logic and think, great, then I'll transform myself. I'll go to the gym, I'll fix my life, I'll blossom, so he'll regret it and come back. And then comes the poison. You're still doing everything for him. He continues to be the center of everything. You've only exchanged explicit pursuit for a pursuit disguised as personal evolution. And the other person's unconscious senses this in the same way. That blossoming done to be seen has the same smell of neediness as before, only with new clothes. Transformation only becomes truly magnetic when it ceases to be a means to win someone back and becomes an end in itself. When you grow because you decided to honor your own life, and not because you're putting on a show for an audience of just one person. And there's an effect Jung described that's almost magical to observe when someone truly reintegrates. That person's presence changes so much that they begin to filter out those around them automatically, effortlessly. Manipulators feel strangely uncomfortable around them and disappear. Those who only wanted to use them lose interest because there's nothing left to extract. And those who have something real to offer approach because now there's a whole person to find. The rebuilt person no longer needs to convince, pursue, or beg for anyone's attention. Their life becomes a magnet that naturally attracts what vibrates at the same frequency and repels what doesn't. And with a startling irony, it's precisely in this state of not needing that the old love usually reappears, feeling the longing it was incapable of feeling before. Because life works like this. The job appears when you stop begging. Love appears when you stop hunting. And the ex reappears exactly when you've finally truly moved on. And here, I need to speak directly to you, who may have listened to all this with a tightness in your chest, thinking of someone specific. Notice where your energy has been these past few days. It's all pointed outwards, towards him, towards her, to your phone waiting for a notification, to the last conversation you replay in your head 1,000 times, to what could have been. And while all your energy is on the outside, there's absolutely nothing left to rebuild what crumbled on the inside. The first step was never sending the right message. It's turning that energy back inwards and asking the only question that changes everything. Who did I stop being to fit into this person's life? And how do I become whole again? Because the truth, bluntly stated, is this: no one who abandoned you has the power to complete you. That power has always been yours. You simply surrendered it at some point, without realizing it, thinking you were loving, when in reality, you were fading away. And reclaiming that power isn't about revenge, nor about making someone regret it. It's about stopping begging for crumbs from someone who should be vying for the feast that you are. The day you truly understand this, in your body, and not just in your head, you will never chase after anyone again. And it's precisely this type of person that the whole world chases. The day the person who lost you feels regret almost never comes back. It's the day they realize you no longer need them to come back. Because you only become irresistible the moment you stop needing to be chosen. That's the end of neediness and the beginning of sovereignty. If this video touched something deep within you, leave the word "awakened" in the comments. Give it a like so that this truth reaches those who are still humiliating themselves for love at this very moment. And subscribe to the channel to continue this journey. But before you leave, here's a question that might explain your entire romantic history. Why do you always attract and fall in love with the same type of person, even swearing, every time, that this time it would be different? Carl Jung had a disturbing answer for this, and that's exactly what the next video, which is already appearing on the screen, is about. Watch it next, because making the unconscious conscious is the only thing that transforms your destiny into a choice. And perhaps in the end, The person you most need to win back isn't the one who left. It's yourself.